All right, listen up. This is a Code Ninja security advisory. We are tracking CVE 2026-20700. It's a critical vulnerability hitting the Apple ecosystem, and this is not a drill. Let's get straight into the intel.
First things first, you need to understand the situation. This is a zero-day vulnerability. Apple has already confirmed it. They're aware of reports that this flaw is being actively and aggressively exploited out there. The perimeter has been breached.
So, how bad is it? The Common Vulnerability Scoring System rates this flaw a 9.8 out of 10. You don't get much higher than that. That's a critical severity rating because this thing allows for arbitrary code execution. It basically gives an attacker the keys to the kingdom on any affected device.
Now, for anyone who's not familiar, a zero-day means the bad guys found this and weaponized it before a patch was available. The clock started ticking before we even knew there was a race, and that's exactly why this emergency disclosure is so necessary. Our objective here is simple: to arm you with the intelligence you need to take immediate action. See, in the world of coordinated vulnerability disclosure, user awareness is a critical piece of the defense. You have to know when your systems are at risk so you can act.
Okay, before we dive deeper into the analysis, we need to establish a secure communications link. This is absolutely essential for you to receive ongoing threat intelligence from us.
Here's your protocol. 1. Subscribe and make sure you enable notifications. Think of this as your channel for real-time threat alerts. 2. Like this transmission. This acts as your formal acknowledgement, your ACK, that you've received this intelligence. And 3. Comment with your patch status. Just type patched or vulnerable. This helps us get a census of the blast radius. All right, comms check complete. Let's analyze the threat vector. To really get this exploit, you have to understand its target. We're calling this protocol the digital doorman. And this quote just nails it. A researcher at Huntress put it perfectly. Think of dyld as the doorman for your phone. Every single app has to check in with him. This vulnerability allows an attacker to just trick that doorman into handing over a master key before any security checks can even happen. So let's get a little more technical. dyld stands for the Dynamic Link Editor. It's a fundamental system process that's responsible for loading your apps and all the libraries they need to run. It's working in the background, but it's essential. So here's the bottom line. If you can control dyld, you control every single application on the device. You own it. Now you gotta understand, this exploit doesn't work in a vacuum. It's the final, brutal stage of a pretty sophisticated kill chain. The attack starts with browser entry, likely using some older, now-patched vulnerabilities. From there, the attacker escalates their privileges, and then, bam, they hit it with this denulled zero-day to get full arbitrary code execution. It's a multi-stage path to total control. So who's behind this? Well, the vulnerability was flagged by Google's threat analysis group, GTAG, and they primarily track state-sponsored actors. Even Apple called the attack extremely sophisticated, which is language they usually save for high-level espionage tools. And get this, field reports suggest the payload is an AI-generated malware called React2 Shell, which is designed to constantly change itself to evade detection. But here's what's really fascinating: the attacker's mission profile. They're not going for big, splashy ransomware attacks. Instead, they're using what's called the tiny profit model. They use AI to automate a massive volume of compromises for small-scale resource theft or data exfiltration. It's like death by 1,000 cuts, operating at a scale that just flies under the radar. Okay, let's run through the timeline so you can see how this all unfolded. Back in December 2025, those initial entry point vulnerabilities got patched. Then, on February 11th of this year, Apple disclosed the dyld zero-day. Just 1 day later, CISA added it to their known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, which confirms active attacks and sets a hard deadline for federal agencies to patch by March 5th. So, who's in the blast radius? Well, it's pretty much the entire modern Apple ecosystem. We're talking iPhones from the 11 and later, newer iPads, Macs running macOS Tahoe, Apple Watches from Series 6 on up, and yep, even Apple TV and the new Vision Pro. If you own a modern Apple device, you are almost certainly vulnerable until you patch.
Okay, that's the threat intelligence. Now for the counteroffensive. Your directive is to fortify your perimeter and to do it immediately.
Let me be absolutely clear about this. Your primary directive is to patch all affected devices immediately. Don't wait for some deadline. The exploit is in the wild right now. For your iPhone and your iPad, here's the protocol. 1. Go to Settings. 2. Select General. 3. Tap Software Update.
You need to download and install iOS or iPad OS version 26.3. Do it now.
And for your Mac, it's a very similar drill. Open the Apple menu, choose System Settings, select General, and then click on Software Update. The patch you're looking for is macOS Tahoe version 26.3.
Now, I need you to ask yourself a serious question. Are you a high-value target? Remember, the initial attacks were described as targeting specific individuals. So if you're a journalist, an activist, an executive, or a diplomat, you need to think about an additional layer of defense.
For those of you who might be high-value targets, your advanced hardening protocol is to enable lockdown mode. This feature severely restricts your device's attack surface. It shuts down a lot of the complex web technologies and features that these sophisticated exploits love to target. Yeah, it's a trade-off in functionality, but it's a massive gain in security.
All right, that covers your operational directives. Let's wrap this up with a quick mission debrief.
You know, people ask why we do these public disclosures. It's simple. It's our code. Coordinated vulnerability disclosure is absolutely necessary because the attackers are already exploiting this flaw in secret. The only ethical response is to arm the defenders, you, with the same knowledge. You have a right to know when your perimeter is breached so you can take action.
That's all the intel for now. Patch your systems, verify your configurations, stay secure.